Well, for the first time since the mid-40s, we won't hear the famous call to start your engines on Memorial Day weekend in Indianapolis. Instead, the green flag will drop on the Indianapolis 500, hopefully in late August. At least that's the plan at this point. Went one-on-one this week via Zoom with IMS owner Roger Penske to get his thoughts on the postponed Indy 500 and also what's next for the IndyCar series.
Well, I think from a business perspective, all of our sponsors, all of our commercial people that we're connected with, all are looking at everything they're doing, everything they're spending. What position are they going to be in the future? Fortunately, we've got a very good group of owners. We had a call with them here in the last 24 hours talking about the schedule. We've been able to work out a schedule that's, I would say, flexible and to the point, where we'll have at least 14 races. There'll be some in the east, some in the west, and some in centrally, ovals and road courses. So to me, with that type of schedule, that we can have 12 to 13 to 14 races as a continued schedule to take this whole group of cars and the series around the country to come back to Indianapolis each year, I think that's going to be our main goal, and I think we're focusing on that. Our TV partner, NBC, has really stepped up here. And we expect them to have probably more races on the network versus just on cable. So I think it's network, I think it's sponsorship, the team's viability. Many of them, I'm sure, have gotten some help from the standpoint of the SB, the PPP loan perspective. So those things certainly help in this time that we're in today.
Roger Penske from his office in Michigan earlier this week. Well, the pandemic has put the brakes on the IndyCar racing series, and the road ahead for the season, perhaps to some, may look a bit bumpy. Bill Benner has more on this week's Inside Indiana Sports. Bill?
Thanks, Gary. And to offer more perspective on new IMS owner Roger Penske, as well as preview the upcoming IndyCar season, is longtime open-wheel racing journalist Robin Miller, who writes for Racer.com and is also part of the NBC Sports race coverage team. And Robin, welcome back to Inside Indiana Business, and always good to see your face. Roger, just your perspective briefly. He's had the ownership of the Speedway and the NTT IndyCar Series now since December, but just your perspective on Roger Penske and his activity up to this point.
Well, Bill, and anybody that doesn't think this guy's committed, he has been here almost every Saturday for the last 3 months. I mean, he's in town every week, sometimes for 1 day, sometimes for 2 days. Usually flies in on Saturday morning, walks the grounds, makes notes. If you guys can go out to the Speedway right now and see all the things he's already done. He's widened Georgetown roads to get rid of that horrible crush behind the main grandstands. More video boards all over the place. Knocked down trees to impair people's sightlines. New restrooms, new concession stands. Everything's mowed. Everything. There's not going to be any more mud puddles like we used to see in the 60s and 70s. Everything's paved. It looks so good, and I think his commitment is, here's a guy that's got 64,000 employees around the world, and this is his focus. I mean, on Sunday nights, I send him letters from fans or questions and stuff, and we have that's usually when we talk, and he's up at midnight or 1 a.m. He sleeps 4 hours a night. He's 83 years old. I've never met anybody smarter or more driven, and thank God he owns the Speedway, because I don't know how anybody else would get through this time right now.
Well, obviously, we're not going to be able to enjoy the Indianapolis Motor Speedway and another great Indy 500 this weekend. We wait till August for that. The NTT IndyCar Series, however, is scheduled to open in June, the first Saturday in June down in Texas. Your thoughts about the series finally getting underway, even though there won't be fans down in Texas?
It's funny, people, Bill, say, well, IndyCar, NASCAR beat them again to the punch. They've been on TV already. Well, they got 36 races scheduled. IndyCar had 17, and they start much earlier in IndyCar. And the fact that Eddie Gossage in Texas was willing to put on a race with no fans, I think Roger had to make him a sweetheart deal, maybe no sanction fee. But Roger Penske knew how important it was. We've got to get started. We've got to get in front of the public, and that Saturday they might get a decent TV number out of it, even though there won't be any fans there. But then you go all the rest of June, you're not going to have anything. So the next race is going to be the IMS road course race. And then, July, August, and September are just going to be slammed. So Roger's done it. He's more and more, like I wrote a story yesterday, Road America is going to go from June to July and become a doubleheader. You got a doubleheader at Iowa. You got a doubleheader at Laguna Seca, because you've got to try and get, like Roger said, 12, 13, 14 races, because you got sponsorship commitments.
Robin, talk about the July 4th weekend, Brickyard 400, and the Indy Grand Prix. Does your sense, or do your people think that there will actually be fans in the stands? Because that's Governor Holcomb, that's when he says the state will be fully opened up.
Well, it's gallows humor, but the crowds that the Brickyard hasn't drawn in the last 4 or 5 years, I mean, you're going to have plenty of room to spread out. It doesn't matter. Saturday or Sunday, there'll be plenty of available seating, and you won't have to sit next to anybody. There'll be social distancing, it'll take care of itself. But what's good about that weekend, Bill, is you got IndyCars and Xfinity running together on the road course on Saturday. I think Jimmy Johnson is maybe going to make his IndyCar debut that Saturday, which would really be cool. That might sell some extra tickets. Then Sunday's the Brickyard. Well, Jay Fry, who runs the competition side of IndyCar for the last several years, has said, I want to have an IndyCar NASCAR doubleheader like at Iowa or Chicago or Richmond or somewhere like that. So you have the IndyCars run on Saturday night, NASCAR Cup cars run on Sunday, and both of them could use some help on oval track attendance, and I think they're willing to work together and help each other, and this will be the very first litmus test whether do people care enough to come watch. But I think NASCAR's best races are on Watkins Glen and Sonoma on a road course, so I think it'll be a success.
Robin, with Roger Penske owning the Speedway, but more importantly, owning the series, and it came up when he was announced as the owner, but are the other teams, again, everybody admires and respects Roger Penske, are the other teams assured that they're going to get a fair shake in every kind of controversy that might come along?
Well, let's put it this way. If A.J. Foyt thinks it's a good deal and he's not going to get flim-flammed, Foyt's been one of the biggest, he's probably been one of the biggest voices saying the best thing ever was Roger Penske buying the Speedway. RP's he's too classy, Bill. He's too smart. He's not even on the stand anymore at IndyCar races. He knows he's got to run the series, and there can't be any favoritism. And yeah, there hasn't been one car owner I've talked to that wasn't over the moon that Roger Penske's the guy that's making the decisions, calling the shots, spending the money, and looking down the road for the future. I mean, he's always one step ahead of the posse in everything he's ever done. And I think this is, I've heard more people say in the last 2 months, God, I feel sorry for Roger Penske. Now, nobody's ever said that before because he's lost a bunch of money, and he's so gung-ho about getting Indy going. But people say, they can't run Indy without fans. Well, I got news for you. Roger Penske, if they got to go to October, he's going to have the Indy 500 with fans.
Hey, Rob, we got about a minute left. Just handicap the series for us. Obviously, Team Penske is always at the top. The Andretti team, Ganassi. Just who do you think is going to be there at the end with the championship trophy?
Well, Rossi's been close the last 2 years. Dixon's still the best driver. Scott Dixon's still the best driver in the series. And then we got Will Power, Joseph Newgarden, and Simon Pagenaud for Penske. But Colton Herta got everybody's attention last year. He wasn't old enough to drink. He didn't look like he's old enough to shave. Won 2 races, had some DNFs, but I think he's going to be a factor in the championship. Brian Herta's son, and he's the future. And you've got all these young guys. There's Pato Award and there's Renus VK and there's Felix Rosenquist. You got all these young guys that are going to win some races. So I think the competition has never been better. You got 24 cars within 0.8 of a second of each other, sometimes on a 3-mile road course or 4-mile road course like Elkhart Lake. So it'll just probably be the same guys for the championship because you got to have good pit stops and consistency. But I think Colton Herta will be your sleeper and your dark horse, and then you got a guy like Will Power, who's been the fastest guy in the series for the last 10 or 15 years, and he's been kind of forgot about. Don't forget about Will Power. This is a contract year for him, so he'll be tough.
Hey, Robin, as we wrap up, go back to the shot of you just over your shoulder is a great photo from back in the day, and that's your buddy, the Hurt, Jim Hurtubise.
Jim Hurtubise had just gone 149.6. He beat Eddie Sachs, the pole sitter, by 3 miles an hour. And Parnelli Jones is standing in his pit watching, and Hurt's on the PA system, and he says, they're saying, Jim, this is the great, you're a rookie, and you almost went 150 miles an hour, and it's the last day of qualifying. And he says, you think I'm fast? He goes, well, you see Parnelli Jones when he gets here. Pretty funny. But, you know, those were the eras that got us all hooked.
And hey, Robin.
Hey, Robin, Gary's got a question
Yeah,
for you.
Robin. So on that day, last day of qualifying, how many people were in the stands probably that day?
Oh my God! There were, you know, on the fourth day of qualifying in the 60s, there was probably 50,000 people.
Yeah.
Probably 50,000, Gary. And you know, that's when they used to get 200,000 for pole day because people couldn't get a ticket to the race, so they had to go to qualifying.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for being and always good to see you, and appreciate your insight, and hope to see you again soon in person.
Okay, boys, always fun.
Thanks, Robin. Gary, back to you.
Okay, great segment.